Imagine you're watching a legendary rock band, right? And they just wrapped up what was supposed to be this triumphant, career-defining farewell tour.
Yeah, the big send-off.
Exactly. Except it wasn't triumphant at all. It was disastrous. I mean, a truly catastrophic, speakers blowing out, lead singer storming off the stage kind of finale.
Oh, the worst kind of breakdown.
Right. So they break up. The fans are absolutely heartbroken. The media writes these scathing obituaries about their legacy. And now suddenly the stadium goes dark again. They're back on stage for an encore.
Which nobody saw coming.
Nobody. But there's a twist. They've got a new lead guitarist. They're playing an entirely different genre of music. And literally nobody in the crowd knows quite what to expect.
The lights go down, the first chord hits. And as a fan, you're sitting there holding your breath, just thinking, is this going to be a brilliant reinvention, or is the stage literally about to catch fire?
Yeah, exactly. And that perfectly describes the story of the Belgian national football team, the Red Devils, as they walk onto the pitch for the 2026 World Cup.
It really does.
Welcome to today's deep dive. If you've, drawn Belgium in your office betting pool, or if you're meticulously prepping your tournament bracket right now, you might be sweating a bit.
I'm sure a lot of people are.
Oh, totally. But don't tear up that bracket just yet, because our mission today is to equip you with absolutely everything you need to know to sound like a tactical genius when watching Group G this summer.
And we're pulling from a massive stack of comprehensive analyses to get you there. I mean, we've got historical performance data, incredibly granular tactical scouting reports from the qualifiers.
The really nerdy stuff.
Oh, yeah, the best stuff. Plus betting odds analysis, and of course, the freshly dropped 26-man official squad announcement.
Right. And we're not just going to read you the roster. That'd be boring.
Very.
We're going to extract the underlying mechanics of how this team actually functions on the grass. We'll explore the generational shifts, the massive tactical gambles, exactly why this team is arguably the most volatile, fascinating squad to watch right now.
But to be fair, you can't really understand the 2026 version of this team without understanding the absolute rubble they are building on top of.
Yeah, that rubble is extensive.
It's massive. And honestly, the sheer scale of the collapse is what makes this current iteration so compelling to look at.
Right.
I mean, to really grasp the psychology of the team walking into North America this summer, we have to look back at the 2022 World Cup in Qatar and the 2024 Euros in Germany.
Let's do that. Because in 2022, Belgium experienced a shock group stage exit. This was a team just packed with global superstars, and they looked entirely disjointed.
Completely lost.
Yeah. Then we fast forward to Euro 2024, and they suffered this deeply uninspiring round of 16 loss to France, 1-0.
A very flat performance.
Very.
Oh.
And under their former manager, Domenico Tedesco, the locker room didn't just crack, it shattered.
Yeah, you saw the symptoms of a terminal disease everywhere in that setup. And I mean, the most glaring symptom was Thibaut Courtois.
Oh, boy. Yeah.
Right. Arguably one of the top 3 goalkeepers on the planet, literally walking out on the national team over a captaincy dispute right before the Euros.
Which is just wild to think about.
It is. When your elite world-class goalkeeper packs his bags because his feelings are hurt about an armband, you are no longer dealing with a tactical issue,
Right. It's way deeper.
Exactly. You're dealing with a systemic cultural failure. The respect was totally gone. The hierarchy was broken.
And it translated directly onto the pitch. I mean, it culminated in a Nations League run that was just painful to watch. One single win in 6 games.
Yeah, that was tough.
When you're losing to teams that you used to put 3 or 4 goals past effortlessly, the administration has to act. And the Royal Belgian Football Association did act.
They really cleaned house.
They initiated a total top-down administrative overhaul. They ousted Tedesco and brought in Vincent Manert, the highly successful former CEO of Club Brugge, as their new sports director.
And Manert's immediate massive swing was hiring Rudy Garcia as manager.
Right, Garcia.
Yeah, a Frenchman who has managed huge clubs, Napoli, Lille, Roma. But the scouting reports emphasize a really specific phrase when describing Garcia. They call him a culture builder.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because I hear the narrative about culture building and healing, but I'm going to push back hard on this.
Go for it.
As a fan, this sounds like pure front office PR spin. Think about a failing tech company, right?
Okay.
A new CEO comes in, changes the corporate mission statement, paints the break room a nice calming blue, and says, hey, the vibes are fixed.
Right.
But if the core software is still full of bugs, the company still fails. The players are the software here. So is a manager with good people skills really enough to suddenly change a team's on-field identity? I have a really hard time believing a few heart-to-heart conversations fixed a broken golden generation.
Well, that's a completely fair skepticism, but you have to look at what was actually causing the bugs in the software. It wasn't a lack of talent.
The talent was undeniably there.
Right. It was the suffocating, paralyzing environment they were operating in. For over a decade, this specific group of players carried the label of Belgium's golden generation. For years, they were ranked #1 in the FIFA World Rankings.
But they never won a major trophy.
Exactly. And that creates a very unique kind of psychological torture. Every single time they stepped onto the pitch in a major tournament, they weren't playing to win. They were playing not to lose.
Ah, I see.
They were just terrified of failing the immense expectations placed on them by their entire country. So what Garcia and Manert did was fundamentally alter the product by literally stripping that label off the packaging.
Also,
Well, the administration came out and publicly declared the golden generation era is over. We are in a transition phase.
so they intentionally lowered the bar.
They completely demolished the bar. Suddenly, this team is flying completely under the radar. They've embraced this underdog mentality.
Which is crazy for Belgium.
It is. But Garcia has stated repeatedly that he prefers being the underdog because it removes the fear of failure. When players aren't terrified of making a mistake, they play faster, looser, and with infinitely more freedom.
That actually makes a lot of sense. The psychological freedom is the catalyst.
Exactly.
Because they shed that massive weight, Garcia was able to walk into the locker room and completely tear up the old playbook. Because under former managers, Belgium played this very methodical, slow, possession-heavy 3-4-2-1 system.
Very structured, very rigid.
Yeah, they wanted to hold the ball and slowly strangle the opponent. But Garcia's thrown that right in the incinerator. He's implemented a radically aggressive, high-tempo 4-2-3-1 formation.
He really shifted the entire identity from that methodical buildup to incredibly rapid central progression. And the data from the qualifier shows just how explosive this new system is.
Explosive is definitely the word. I mean, let's look at the offensive output. In their 8 qualifying matches, they scored 29 goals.
It's wild.
That averages out to 3.63 goals per 90 minutes.
Yeah.
That is absolute video game production.
Yeah, it's FIFA numbers.
Right, and they're achieving that by utilizing the sheer raw pace of their wide players. Guys like Jeremy Doku from Manchester City and Dodi Lukebakio from Benfica.
But, pace alone doesn't score 29 goals. The magic happens because of how that pace interacts with Kevin De Bruyne.
Of course, the maestro.
Exactly. In a 4-2-3-1, De Bruyne operates as the central attacking midfielder right behind the striker. But specifically, he drifts into what analysts call the half spaces.
Okay, let's pause right there. Because for the listener who, maybe only tunes into international soccer every 4 years and isn't reading tactical coaching manuals on the weekends, what exactly is a half space and why is De Bruyne so deadly there?
Good question. So think of the soccer pitch divided vertically into 5 lanes. You have the 2 wide lanes out by the touchlines, and you have the center lane running straight down the middle.
Okay, got the visual.
The half spaces are the 2 lanes sandwiched directly between those wide lanes and the center lane.
So it's sort of the inside left and inside right channels.
Correct. And it's the most dangerous area on the pitch because it creates a nightmare for defenders. I mean, if a central defender steps out to guard De Bruyne in the half space, he leaves a massive hole in the middle of the defense.
Right.
But if a fullback pinches in to guard him, he leaves the wing wide open for someone like Doku. So De Bruyne basically operates in this pocket of hesitation.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah. So Garcia's strategy is simple but devastating. Doku and Lukebakio sprint down the extreme wide lanes, stretching the opponent's defense horizontally like a rubber band.
And that stretching creates the gaps.
Exactly. It opens up the half spaces for De Bruyne to receive the ball, turn, and just pick the lock.
He's got the golden key, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He scored 6 goals in qualifying himself just by exploiting that hesitation.
He's ruthless.
But, okay, here's where it gets really interesting. That explosive offense masks a pretty terrifying reality. If you're that office pool bettor we talked about earlier, here's the stat that should make you sweat. Yeah, during that exact same qualifying campaign where they scored 29 goals, they conceded 7 goals and allowed 5.1 expected goals against.
Yeah, that underlying metric is the absolute smoking gun for this team's vulnerability.
Let's break down expected goals against, or XGA, because it sounds like a stat for, baseball nerds,
Yeah.
but it tells a vital story here.
It really does.
It doesn't just measure how many shots the other team took. It measures the quality of those shots based on historical data.
Mhm.
So giving up 5.1 xGA means opponents were regularly finding themselves in incredibly dangerous, high-probability scoring positions.
Right, they aren't just taking pot shots from 40 yards out.
Exactly. I mean, they gave up 5 actual goals across just 2 fixtures against Wales. So why is a team that dominates possession so thoroughly suddenly leaking these high-quality chances?
Well, it all comes down to the defense Garcia has assembled, specifically the central pairing of Zeno de Bast and Arthur Thiet.
Okay, what's the issue there?
Well, they are both incredibly comfortable with the ball at their feet, which is totally necessary to start these rapid attacks. But here is the fatal flaw: they lack elite, tournament-tested recovery speed.
Ah, so they're a bit slow?
Yes. And when you play Garcia's attacking style, you have to push your defensive line very high up the pitch, sometimes all the way to the halfway line, to compress the space and suffocate the opponent.
I'm trying to visualize this. It's almost like a game of tug of war where you've moved your entire team right up to the center line to get maximum leverage.
That's exactly it.
You can pull with immense force, but if anyone on your side slips, the other team only has to pull the rope 2 inches to win the game.
That is a phenomenal way to picture it. By pushing de Bast and Thiet up to the halfway line, Garcia leaves like 50 yards of empty green grass behind them.
That's terrifying.
It is. If Belgium loses the ball, the opponent just boots it into that massive empty space, and it suddenly becomes a foot race between a fast opposing forward and Belgium's slower center backs.
So wait, let me get this straight. If you know, factually, that your center backs are slow, isn't playing a high defensive line basically tactical suicide. You're intentionally putting your weakest physical trait into the most vulnerable position possible.
What's fascinating here is that, yes, it sounds totally counterintuitive, but Garcia is relying on a specific mechanism in the midfield to protect them. This is where the double pivot comes into play.
The double pivot.
Right. In that 4-2-3-1 formation, the 2 represents 2 defensive midfielders, in this case, Yuri Tielemans and Amadou Onana.
What are they actually doing physically on the pitch to stop that foot race from happening?
A double pivot basically means they work in tandem to shield the defense. Think of them as a set of swinging doors. When the team loses the ball, their job isn't to run backward to defend.
Wait, really?
No, their job is to violently press forward and win the ball back within 3 seconds. Onana specifically is a physical monster. His entire role is to hunt down the ball carrier immediately after a turnover so that the opponent doesn't even have the time to look up and play that long pass over the top.
Oh, so the defense is protected by simply never letting the pass happen in the first place.
Yes, exactly. Garcia is also relying on fear to an extent.
Fear.
Yeah. He's calculating that players like Doku are so terrifyingly fast that opposing teams will naturally drop all their players deep into their own penalty box just to survive the onslaught.
Pinning them back.
Right. If the opponent's wingers are pinned back playing defense, they aren't in a position to sprint into the empty space behind Belgium's defense. Garcia is protecting his slow center backs with distance. It is the very definition of a glass cannon team. They rely entirely on overwhelming firepower.
But, I mean, executing a high-wire act like this requires absolute physical perfection. You have to maintain that suffocating pressure for a full 90 minutes.
Yes, which is exhausting.
If Onana's even a second too slow, or Tielemans gets tired and misses a tackle, that long pass gets launched and the glass shatters.
And that's the danger.
And that physical demand creates a massive, really uncomfortable tension with the reality of this Belgian roster. Because while the tactical system requires relentless, youthful energy, the brains orchestrating this team are trapped in aging bodies. Let's talk about the veterans' last stand.
This is where the narrative of the tournament really lies for Belgium.
Right.
We have 4 core figures left over from that squad that took 3rd place in Russia back in 2018.
The old guard.
Yeah, they're still the spine of the team, but they are all in their mid to late 30s now.
Let's run the diagnostic on them. First, Kevin De Bruyne. He is 34 years old now.
Right.
As we just discussed, his brain and his vision in the half spaces are the whole reason this offense works at all.
Vital to the system.
But physically,
Yeah.
he had a brutal club season at Napoli, missing 4 entire months due to a severe thigh injury.
And a thigh injury for a player whose entire game relies on explosive turning and pinpoint high-velocity passing is incredibly concerning. Then you have Romelu Lukaku. He's 33 years old, the nation's all-time leading scorer with 90 goals. But similar to De Bruyne, his season at Napoli was totally derailed by lingering fitness issues.
It's rough. We also have Thibaut Courtois at 34, who we know is the ultimate safety net for that risky high line we just talked about.
Yeah, the sweeper keeper.
Right, if the foot race happens, he's the guy who has to sprint out of the penalty box to sweep up the ball. And finally, you have Axel Witsel, who is 37 years old now, playing his club football at Girona.
Now, Witzel is a really fascinating inclusion. He isn't expected to start every game or run the midfield like he used to back in his prime.
Right.
But in interviews, he's explicitly stated he is treating this final World Cup exactly like his first one.
Looking at these four guys, it really does feel like opening a garage and looking at a collection of vintage sports cars.
That's a great way to put it.
I mean, they're beautiful, they have immense historical pedigree, and you know they have the power to win. But the moment you take them out on the highway and rev the engine, you are just clenching your jaw, holding your breath, and praying a gasket doesn't blow.
Yeah, holding on for dear life.
You look at De Bruyne's thigh, and you realize that Garcia's entire tactical revolution is completely dependent on a muscle that has already failed once this year.
It highlights the brutal reality of tournament football, you know? The mind often outlasts the body. Mentally, De Bruyne's ability to read the geometry of the pitch hasn't aged a single day.
He's still a genius.
And Lukaku still knows exactly where to position himself in the box. But the World Cup demands potentially 7 high-intensity matches over 4 weeks.
The recovery time is brutal.
Exactly. That's why Witzel's inclusion is actually a masterstroke by Garcia.
Really? How so? If he can't run the midfield anymore, what's his actual utility?
Psychological glue. Yeah. The gap between a 37-year-old veteran who has felt the heartbreak of international failure and a 21-year-old kid experiencing the World Cup for the first time is massive.
Totally different worlds.
Witzel bridges that generational divide. He translates Garcia's calm to the locker room. When the media pressure mounts, or say when they go down a goal in the knockout stages, Witzel is the anchor that prevents panic.
But on the pitch, panic might still set in if the veterans literally can't keep up. Lukaku, in particular, is facing immense pressure not just from his own body, but from the youth breathing down his neck. The sources highlight Charles de Ketelaere from Atalanta. He's 25. He's incredibly fluid.
De Ketelaere is the absolute antithesis of a traditional physical target man like Lukaku.
Right. He's not just a big body in the box.
Exactly. He can play as a central midfielder, a number 10, or a highly mobile forward. If Lukaku simply cannot execute the aggressive high press that Garcia demands for 90 minutes, De Ketelaere provides a completely different, highly mobile dynamic.
So Garcia has options.
Yeah, the tactical success of this team hinges on Garcia knowing exactly when to pull the vintage engines and insert the modern fluid parts.
And because Garcia knows the veterans' legs might fail them, he basically had no choice. He had to inject a massive dose of youthful adrenaline into this 26-man roster.
He did.
But making room for that youth required some incredibly ruthless cuts. We have to talk about the class of 26 and the snubs that absolutely set the Belgian media on fire.
The youth movement is substantial here. Let's look at the additions first. You have Senne Lammens, a 23-year-old goalkeeper who just won the Premier League transfer of the season with Manchester United.
Wow.
Yeah, he is the premium insurance policy if Courtois goes down. Then you have Matias Fernandes-Pardo, a 21-year-old striker from Lille who sensationally chose to represent Belgium over Spain just weeks before the tournament.
Oh, snagging a dual national talent right before a World Cup is a huge win.
Massive win.
But the guy I want to focus on is Zeno de Bast, the 22-year-old center back from Sporting CP. We talked earlier about how his lack of foot speed makes him a liability in defense.
Yes, the foot race issue.
But the scouting reports call him a cornerstone player because of what he does with the ball. So how does a slow center back become the cornerstone of a fast offense?
It goes right back to that double pivot midfield we discussed. When opposing teams play Belgium, they know Tielemans and Onana are the engine room.
Right, they're the distributors.
So opponents will try to press them aggressively, suffocating them so they can't turn and pass forward to De Bruyne. This is where De Bast becomes the secret weapon.
What are the mechanics of that? How does he bypass it?
Well, De Bast has the vision and the passing range of an elite midfielder, but he operates from the back line. When an opponent pushes 3 forwards up to trap Tielemans, they inherently leave a massive void somewhere else on the pitch.
Because they've committed the bodies forward.
Exactly. And De Bast didn't just panic and kick the ball out of bounds under pressure. He calmly steps into the pocket of space, draws an opposing midfielder toward him, and then launches a 50-yard laser-guided pass directly over the heads of the entire midfield.
Just bypassing the whole trap.
Yeah, landing it perfectly at the feet of Jeremy Doku on the wing. He essentially bypasses the entire central battleground with one swing of his boot.
That's incredible. He turns an opposing team's aggressive press into a fatal mistake. Okay, so DeBast is the quarterback. I get why he's on the plane,
Makes total sense.
but you cannot add these young guys without taking veterans off the list. And Rudy Garcia was absolutely ruthless here. I mean, Matt Seals, a regular Premier League goalkeeper, gone.
Left at home.
Malik Fofana, a young prodigy at Lyon, who many assumed was locked in, left at home. But the snub that broke the internet, the one that makes absolutely no sense to me, is Lois Openda.
Openda. Leaving him out is the defining statement of Garcia's entire managerial philosophy.
It has to be.
Let's look at the facts. Openda had brilliant domestic seasons, scoring buckets of goals for Juventus and RB Leipzig. If you're looking purely at a spreadsheet of individual statistics, leaving him off the roster seems absurd.
I'm sorry, but it is absurd. As a fan, this just sounds like a massive cop-out. The objective of the game is to put the ball in the net more times than the opponent.
Right.
Openda is a proven 20-goal-a-season striker in top European leagues. Leaving him at home because he might disrupt, harmony, feels like leaving your best, most expensive set of golf clubs in the garage because you prefer the color of a cheap putter.
That's quite the analogy.
I mean, if Garcia's rigid tactical system cannot accommodate a prolific goal scorer, isn't that a failure of the system, not the player?
I completely understand the frustration, and trust me, the Belgian media shared your exact sentiment. They went crazy.
Yeah.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, you have to look at the mechanics of tournament football versus club football.
Okay, lay it out for me.
In club football, you have 9 months to build chemistry. You have 38 league games. In a World Cup, you have 3 weeks. You are not building an all-star team. You are building a highly fragile, interconnected machine.
Okay, so why doesn't Openda fit the machine? Is he broken?
No, not at all. Because Openda is a player who demands the system cater to his specific style of making runs off the shoulder of the last defender. He needs the ball played into space in a very specific way.
And that clashes with the others.
It directly conflicts with how De Bruyne wants to orchestrate, and it conflicts with the physical presence Lukaku provides or the fluid interplay De Ketelaere offers.
So it's really about finding puzzle pieces that actually interlock, rather than just grabbing the 26 shiniest edge pieces.
Precisely. Garcia looked at Openda and realized that bringing him would mean either completely changing the system to suit him or sitting a 20-goal striker on the bench.
Which inevitably creates toxic media narratives.
Exactly, and locker room pouting. By leaving Openda at home and bringing an uncapped 21-year-old like Fernandez Pardo, Garcia is signaling that he values specific stylistic compliance over ego.
He wants soldiers, not divas.
Right. He wants players who know their exact role and will execute it without demanding the spotlight. He is betting his entire job that cohesive team chemistry trumps individual star power.
Well, if De Bruyne's thigh gives out, and Lukaku is tired, and Belgium struggles to score, the media will absolutely have Garcia's head on a spike for leaving Openda behind.
Oh, without a doubt. It's a colossal gamble.
So we have the psychological reset, we understand the high-octane but flawed tactics, and we know exactly who is on the roster. Let's bring it all together. How does this specific group of players actually match up against the roadblocks waiting for them in Group G? Let's run the gauntlet.
Group G is a brilliant tactical puzzle because it forces Belgium to play 3 entirely different styles of football in 3 different North American cities, requiring complex squad rotation just to manage the travel fatigue.
Let's start with Match 1, June 15th, Lumen Field in Seattle, Washington. Belgium opens against Egypt, who are currently ranked 34th in the world. Now, before we look at the pitch, we do need to neutrally acknowledge the off-pitch context here.
Right, the Seattle context.
Yeah, the city of Seattle has officially branded this specific game a pride match, and both the Egyptian and Iranian football federations have formally objected to that branding.
Yes. And while that political and cultural friction heavily dominates the media narrative surrounding the event right now, our focus remains strictly on the tactical reality taking place on the grass.
Exactly.
Because tactically, Egypt is a terrifying opening test for Belgium.
They actually beat Belgium 2-1 in a friendly back in 2022, and they feature Omar Marmoush from Eintracht Frankfurt, Mustafa Mohamed, and of course, global icon Mohamed Salah. Why is Egypt such a bad matchup for Garcia's system?
Think back to the fatal flaw we spent all that time dissecting. Garcia pushes his defensive line up to the halfway line, leaving 50 yards of space behind slow center backs.
Oh no, Salah is going to feast on that space.
Exactly. Mohamed Salah is one of the most devastating transitional attackers in the history of the sport. Egypt is not going to try and outpass Belgium. They're going to sit deep, absorb pressure, and just wait for Tielemans or Onana to make one single mistake.
Just one.
The millisecond Belgium loses the ball, Egypt will launch a pass over the top into that empty 50 yards. Salah isolating Zeno de Bast in a 40-yard foot race is the exact nightmare scenario Garcia is terrified of.
To stop that, Onana is going to have to play the game of his life, shutting down those transition passes before they launch. Okay, if they survive the track meet against Egypt, they move to match 2.
Los Angeles.
Yeah, June 21st, SoFi Stadium in LA. They take on Iran, ranked 20th in the world. Again, neutrally acknowledging the heavy geopolitical backdrop of Iran playing a World Cup tournament on United States soil, there will be intense global scrutiny.
Unavoidable.
But pivoting straight to the tactical puzzle, this is actually the first time the senior men's teams of Belgium and Iran have ever played each other.
And Iran is not a team you want to face unprepared. They're incredibly battle-tested. Out of all the teams in this group besides Belgium, Iran is the only one that actually possesses a history of winning matches at the World Cup.
What's their record?
An all-time record of 3 wins, 4 draws, and 11 losses. And they have a highly potent strike partnership in Mehdi Taremi and Sardar Azmoun.
We talked about Egypt being a track meet. What is the tactical lock Belgium has to pick against Iran?
Iran presents the complete opposite challenge. They won't run a track meet. They will build a brick wall.
A wall.
Yeah, Iran will deploy a highly disciplined, low-block defensive system.
Define low block for us visually. I mean, how does that look on the screen?
Imagine taking all 10 outfield players and compressing them into the final 30 yards of the pitch right in front of their own goalkeeper.
Just pack in the box.
Exactly. They've set up 2 rigid horizontal lines of 4 or 5 players, with almost 0 space between the lines. They literally blockade the penalty area and dare Belgium to try and pass through 10 bodies.
So Doku speed is basically useless because there is no open space behind the defense to sprint into.
Exactly. You can't outrun a wall. This is the match that demands absolute technical perfection. This is where Jeremy Doku has to rely on pure one-on-one dribbling to beat a defender in a phone booth and create chaos.
Just wiggling his way through.
Yeah. But more importantly, this game rests entirely on the shoulders, or rather, the thigh of Kevin De Bruyne.
Ah, right back to the thigh.
When there is no space, you need a genius who can thread a pass through the eye of a needle in the half spaces. If De Bruyne isn't fully fit, or if Iran successfully suffocates him, this match in LA has all the makings of a deeply frustrating, grinding, scoreless draw.
You survive the track meet, you try to break down the brick wall, and finally you get to match 3. June 26th, BC Place in Vancouver. Belgium faces New Zealand, the Oceania qualifying winners, ranked 86th in the world.
New Zealand enters the tournament as the consensus major underdog of the group. Historically, they have struggled to impose themselves on the world stage.
Sure.
But they do present a completely unique physical challenge. They play a very direct physical style centered around their striker, Chris Wood.
Right. He provides a massive bruising aerial threat. It's a completely different type of defending required from De Bast and Theat. They don't have to run backwards this time. They have to win a wrestling match in the penalty box.
But if Belgium executes their game plan against Egypt and Iran, this third match becomes a massive tactical luxury.
Because if they already have 6 points, they're guaranteed to advance.
Exactly. If the points are secure, this game is an absolute gift. It is the perfect opportunity for Garcia to rest the vintage engines.
With the cars back in the garage.
You sit De Bruyne, you sit Lukaku, you sit Witsel, you give valuable low-pressure tournament minutes to the youth, you let Charles de Ketelaere run the offense, you bring on Fernandez Pardo.
You might even give Sanny Lamens a starting goal.
Exactly. It's all about preserving physical capital for the knockout stages.
So let's look at the math as we wrap this up. According to the betting odds and predictive models we pulled, Belgium is heavily favored here. They're sitting at Gedege 220 to win Group G.
That's a huge margin.
The models give them a massive 97.6% implied probability to advance out of the group stage into the round of 32.
They should absolutely escape this group, without a doubt.
But those same models capped their quarterfinal chances at just 41.2%.
And there's the drop-off.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this and mapping out your bracket, you have to ask yourself, is this team destined to look like absolute world beaters in the group stage, scoring goals for fun against Egypt and New Zealand, only to shatter into a million pieces the second they face a true heavyweight like France or Brazil in the knockouts?
That is the ultimate destiny of a glass cannon, right? The data overwhelmingly suggests that their raw offensive output, that 3.63 goals per game, will easily overwhelm early, lower-ranked opponents.
It's too much firepower.
Right. But the underlying defensive metrics, that terrifying 5.1 expected goals against, indicate structural rot. Relying on end-to-end shootouts is a very volatile commodity in tournament football.
It catches up to you.
If they reach the round of 16 and meet a nation that possesses equal attacking firepower but actually has a solid defense, the math catches up to them. If you cannot defend elite transitional speed, the glass shatters.
So what does this all mean for you, the fan tuning in? Let's succinctly recap this journey. The Belgian Red Devils have swapped out the crushing, paralyzing expectations of their Golden Generation label for a fresh, incredibly fast, but defensively terrifying identity under their new culture builder manager, Rudy Garcia.
Spot on.
They are heavy favorites to navigate the tactical gauntlet of Group G. Surviving the transitional speed of Egypt, picking the low block lock of Iran, and managing the physicality of New Zealand.
But their ultimate fate in North America relies entirely on two very fragile variables.
Right. The physical endurance of an aging Kevin De Bruyne and the untested mettle of a young, slow central defense operating completely without a net.
As we look toward this summer, I really want to leave you with one final thought to mull over. For over a decade, Belgium possessed arguably the greatest collection of individual talent on the planet.
Oh, undeniably.
And they were absolutely paralyzed by the immense pressure of that reality. They were expected to win it all, and that expectation became a curse that fractured the locker room.
It poisoned them.
But now, the expectations are lowered, the defense is highly suspect, the golden era is officially recognized as over, and the pressure is completely off.
Which changes everything.
What if the exact ingredient Belgium needed to finally win a World Cup wasn't more world-class talent, but simply the psychological freedom of having absolutely nothing to lose?
It's the disastrous farewell tour, returning for an encore where nobody expects a masterpiece. But sometimes, when the pressure's off and you're finally just playing the music, you end up setting the stage on fire in the best way possible. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Group G. Keep questioning the tactical decisions, keep an eye on those half spaces, and as always, keep diving deep.